not, let's spend a few minutes. It is late. Let's spend a few minutes just discussing a few halachas. There's not that many halachas. I told someone I'm going to mention halachas of Asar B'Teves in a fast days in a shir. He said, "What do you mean? You fast and move on." That's true, but let's just mention the few details that everyone asks. Detail number one: you wake up in the morning, and this is general fast day, but let's just quickly remind ourselves: you wake up, your mouth feels disgusting. You really need to brush your teeth. Use mouthwash. It is allowed. The Mishnah writes, "B'makoim hatzayrech," in a time of need. Doesn't say extreme need. He doesn't say horrible. He says in a time of need. So if someone feels they need, you're allowed to brush your teeth or use mouthwash. Obviously, we have to be cognizant not to swallow the water. In general, whether some women have different minhagim, but the general Mishnah Berurah writes, pregnant women, nursing women do not fast. If one would get sick because of fasting, generally in this type of fast, they wouldn't. A shayla should be asked. If someone plans on waking up early in the morning and eating before the fast, someone plans on eating before the fast, today, we can do it right now, they should say that I am not beginning the fast until the Zman. Now, the fast starts very late. Starts at 5:53, these are Muncie times, or 6:08. That's very late. So someone might say, hey, that's great. Wake up at 5:15 and eat. That you certainly could do. But then now we should say, I'm saying it right now, and everyone could, in their own minds or verbalize it themselves. They say, I'm not starting the fast until the Zman. 6:30 Detroit. Let's go to Detroit for the weekend. Should say now that the fast that's starting. The reason is, if one does not say that now, then there's an implicit acceptance of the fast when you go to sleep. If one forgot to say it, there would be room for leniency in the morning, certainly to drink, but one should say that now. Just a classical question. Someone forgot, they didn't realize it was a fast day. They got caught up and they ate and drank something. You still continue fasting. It's not like, I didn't fast. I broke it. No, you still continue. And of course, if someone feels sick, they should ask a shayla. Obviously, it's not obvious. If someone needs to take medication, then they're allowed to take it with a dot of water on this fast day. Tylenol, Advil as well. Someone has to take a daily medication, the same thing. If someone needs a medication and needs food, again, a shayla should be asked. Because it's Erev Shabbos, a few things change. Number one, some generally have the custom not to bathe, shower, haircut on a fast day. It's not an isser, but it's a higher level of living. However, Kavod Shabbos. And then we're going to take out of tomorrow a very heightened sense of Kavod Shabbos. Kavod Shabbos, prepare for Shabbos normally. Shower, haircut, the whole 9 yards. Tomorrow at Mincha, everyone will probably notice, anyone who either looks at the Zmanim, has a spouse going to shul, or any other reason, everything's going to be a few minutes earlier. And the reason is that Mincha has Kriyas HaTorah. We lean at Mincha on a fast day. There's Haftarah as well. So it takes an extra few minutes, as well as you want to finish by Shkia. Anenu, for those who are fasting, is said in Shemoneh Esrei, No Avinu Malkeinu, or Tachanun. No Avinu Malteinu, or Tachanun. That is going into Shabbos. A woman who's fasting, everything is the same. She lights candles. She obviously should have a mincha prior. But again, as you'll see right now, there's an extra emphasis on making sure we start early. Why? And the reason is you're not supposed to fast into Shabbos. Now let me add on one extra detail actually. Tomorrow, many people are going to daven mincha early. Why we can daven mincha early? I mean like 12:30 in the afternoon, 12:45. And the reason is there are opinions that say it's inappropriate to daven mincha for a fast day in your Shabbos clothing. Shabbos, fast day? No. So we try, let's daven and let's lean earlier. There are opinions that say that if one can't because of work or whatnot. Of course, many shuls will probably have two minyanim. You'll daven and you'll lane before Shabbos. Now, the fast ends. Again, I'm just going to give you monthly times just for, reference. The fast ends anywhere between 5:21 and 5:32. We'll call it 5:25 to make it nice and simple. So by 5:25, we want to already be home Shalom Aleichem, Ishas Chayil, Kiddush. And one might say, and I remember 2 years ago, people said, "What's the big deal? I feel good, so we'll daven normal, and we'll what's the big deal? We'll go home and we'll eat at 6 o'clock." It's not true. You're not supposed to fast on Shabbos. Now, obviously, everyone according to their own opinions. There will be people that they always hold later Zmanim. But whatever your time that you finish the fast, you're not supposed to fast into Shabbos. It's the whole shaila if we're allowed to even do what we're doing. As we started off, Asar B'Tevis has this unique stringency that we do, but there's an emphasis. Davening ends tomorrow night. We'll remind everyone it's not the time to schmooze. We go home and we start. Now, let's say one shul doesn't finish on time. With all the planning, today all the gabayim are busy, all the rabbanim are busy trying to figure out, davening takes this amount of time and this amount of time, and it's a balance, right? You don't want to finish too early because then there's nothing worse than sitting there looking at the clock. Okay, 5 more minutes, 4 more minutes. No one wants to do that. But on the other hand, you don't want to finish late. So it's a balance. But let's say it doesn't work out and you come home, and maybe the woman will appreciate this the most, a woman who is fasting, and the husband comes home late. What's going on? Let's go. No. And Shalom Aleichem we start, and Eishes Chayil. So many opinions, right? No. Stop. Go straight to Kiddush. Shalom Aleichem, Eishes Chayil, you can do afterwards. But right now, it is time to eat. Right now, the fast has just ended, and therefore, one can skip Shalom Aleichem, Eishes Chayil, and do it late. Just an interesting thing to note, and this is anytime one davens Ma'ariv early, you should repeat Kriya Shema later at night. A Shema has to be said at night. And finally, no water or drink can be had until Kiddush is made. That's a regular fast day halacha. That really ends the halachas. Now, I want to just continue for one more minute. One more minute with something which is fascinating. For those who don't know what we're about to say, it might sound shocking. For those who do, it'll just be interesting. So I'm sitting here with a cup of coffee. And of course, as you could see, the coffee has milk. Why? Because I drink my milk with coffee. I didn't think anything was extreme about that. So now, many people, fast ends, and they want a cup of coffee. They want some caffeine. Okay, great. But now it's Friday night. You just made Kiddush. You just washed. You're about to start your Seudah. Uh-oh. How can I have milk? It's a Fleishiger Seudah at Shabbos. Am I allowed? What's going on here? So many people at this point say, come on, let's not be extreme. Just have powdered milk, have oat milk, have soy milk, and move on in life. And yes, that certainly is an answer. As we all know, the easiest move for any Rav is to avoid the Shaila. Classical rabbi card, avoid the Shaila and move on. So true, let's avoid it, finish, parv, and everything's fine. But now let's just answer the question, what if someone wants to have milchiks? And this is a fascinating answer. Chassidim, the Zohar, has a special hakpada, a special stringency, scrupulous to do what? Have a break between milk and meat. Obviously, meat and milk, of course. I don't know if we ever spoke about these halachas here together. But between milk and meat, they wait a half hour or an hour. Some will just never have it in the same seudah. However, according to the letter of the law, the Ramah writes in Hilchei Shavuos that what his minhag was on Shavuos. On Shavuos, that we have milk, we have milchiks, right? But many people want to have fleishiks. It's Yom Tif. The Ramah writes, my minhag is we have milk first, and then we have meat in the same meal. Whoa! How do we do that? So there's one simple thing that needs to be done. Well, a few simple things. The halachic simple thing is you just got to rinse out your mouth. We'll say a stringency here just to keep it simple. We'll take a bite of something to eat, a piece of challah, rinse out your mouth. Now you could go and have your fleishiks. That's the simple answer. Of course, one has to be mindful that your Shabbos Uda table is fleishiks. So if you're going to start sitting down with coffee and milk and danishes at the table, and then there are going to be crumbs from your cheese danish on your fleishiga plate, which you're about to serve the meat on, that's absolutely illegal. So we can't do that. So what do? Well, there's a few simple things to do. One thing which I've seen many people do, so just have your cup of coffee and some cake in the kitchen. Take a 5-minute break after you wash, and then go back and have your Suda. Can you eat it at the table? You certainly can. Put down a placemat and eat it. And I'll be honest that often, many a Friday night will come. I'll start by Shabbos Suda. Certainly, nowadays Shabbos is so early. It's 5:00. You want a cup of coffee. Often, Kiddush, you wash. I'll have a cup of coffee with milk. What's the problem? Now, obviously, you have to be mindful. The table is fleishiks. Obviously, you have to be mindful. It depends on what course you're discussing. But if there's meat at the table, you're not allowed to even eat milk and meat on the same table. I don't think we ever spoke about those halachas. Maybe we'll get there one day. Can't be on the same table. There's halacha, you need to have a hecker, something to remind you. But again, the simple thing is a placemat. Simple thing. Take a placemat, you put it down, you have your cup of coffee, finish your cup of coffee, and then you can move on. Wash your mouth out, have something to eat, and then you move on to fleishiks. That is perfectly fine. Again, if someone has particular minhagim, it's a different story. But the letter of the law, the halacha is, you're allowed to eat milk. And I'll tell you personally, this is what I do. And then go and have meat afterwards with washing out your mouth. If you're having real milchigs, you should wash your hands. Again, if it's just a cup of coffee, there's really no reason to wash your hands. And there's really not much to be concerned. Some might say, oh, does mouthwash brush my teeth? Yeah, well, whatever you want. All these things are fine, but you are allowed to have milk. You could have your cup of coffee and then have your fleishiga suda, even within the same suda, as long as you're mindful. Again, the milk and meat don't go near each other. You have a hecker, you have a separation, you have a placemat, and you wash your mouth out. That's that. I'll just make one last mention that might happen is if you're going to have a Danish, you can have a cookie. I'm just going through all the things that people like to have when they break their fast. You just have to be remembering you're in the middle of a meal, but that's called a dessert food. So I know it's not dessert yet, and maybe up to your fish course, but you're having dessert really. So in some households, you're allowed to have dessert before the first course. In other households, you'll be thrown out onto the street. But you're having dessert right now. So just be mindful. We all know, depending on what the dessert is, often you have to make a bracha, a mizaynais on that cake, on that cookie, etc. So, Emir Hashem, by being Shomer Halacha, heightened level for Asar B'Teves, the unique combination of elevating our covered Shabbos, making sure we daven on time, we're ready for Shabbos on time, we show up to shul on time, we come home on time, we eat on time. We'll remind ourselves, wow, look what Shabbos is. Look at the honor of Shabbos. We don't want to fast for one extra minute. Hopefully that, together with the realization of what Asar B'Teves is, working a little bit more, we'll be able, Emir Hashem, to slowly, hopefully quickly, bring the Beis